All right, welcome back to the channel. So happy you could be here. Here's the second part of that video. I am so sorry that this took so long. I had some technical difficulties. I think I got it sorted out. So I will be sharing Canva, and then I'll be sharing my computer desktop in terms of the software to look at how to do our rollover. So we're just going to share Canva now. All right, so if you have not looked at the last video, I'm asking you that, please take some time to view that. I think it would be to your advantage. I'm going to leave a link here, or you could look at it at the end of this video. Now, you can look at this video as an entirety, and you would be able to pick up a lot of the concept from the first video. But in the first video, I do have, an actual account that will look both at the actual 401k during the 2022 dip, and the same person, they had some money in an annuity, and you see a vast difference. You saw that the 401k lost 15% and the annuity actually grew by 30%, which is pretty incredible during that fall as well. And they kind of give you the details why when they rolled it over, they had a bonus, and then of course stocks grew, and it did not fall because it had a floor, and then it grew. So in this video, we're going to consider, why you ought to consider a 401k rollover, the key reasons why a rollover can protect you, and how a rollover is done. We're going to look at some of the best practices and an explanation of the types of annuity accounts. So I want you to, grab a pen, grab some paper, and take some notes. So here's my disclaimer. This is for all social media influencers, content creators as myself. This video is for educational purposes. I don't have any brand deals here, and I'm not promoting any products or any carriers. So all the information is free. The goal is for you to think about this critically. I want you to make a really informed decision because retirement affects your entire future. So please speak to a financial professional and exercise due diligence. I am a registered nurse full-time. I do function as a financial professional part-time. My wife has been in finances and on the medical side for 20 years. She is also a financial professional, and we're both licensed in multiple states. So you could see us. Oh, there are lots of people that you could see concerning this. And I'll leave some of the reasons why financial professional might be a good option. So which is one of the most important thing for you: health, wealth, or happiness. Now, I think all three of them are needed in our lives. You can have a really happy life if you don't have good health, and if you don't have the money to spend to enjoy your life. So I have compiled some sources across the internet. I've tried to use credible sources. So I've kind of defaulted to using Bloomberg, Forbes, CNBC, Market Watch, Yahoo Finance, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta as one of them. And I will leave just some highlights in terms of some of those articles. I do have some more research material that I'm covering in the very next video that covers tax strategies and IULs. So as we move into this video here, I want you to understand that just about everybody that meets with a financial professional, they want to know, like, where should I put my money in, and what are the safest places. And one of the things that I feel is that many of us want to know is one of the key reasons why a 401 like rolling over your 401k protects you. And I do still have one 401k, and my wife and I have moved all of our money from the 401ks into annuities and other strategies to get a higher rate of return, and also to reduce our taxes. And I'll share a little bit about that, and I'll show you kind of one of the software that we use that helps us to pick as a financial professional. So reason number one for doing a rollover is protection from losses. So I know you don't like throwing money away, especially you work hard for your money. And as you look at the markets right now, you see money is going down the drain. And 2022, people saw 32% loss. Some people saw 48% losses upwards. And 2008, people also suffered loss. And I just read some articles that people have never recovered from those losses. So once you lose money in a 401k, Even if stock rises, you don't truly gain back. And I covered the reasons why in the first video. So basically, if you do nothing about your 401k, you're just going to lose. So we need to make a decision to do something. So I just want to cover a few more alarming statistics that may surprise you. So Forbes magazine in a 2013 article, um, they interviewed someone. Her name is Teresa Gillar Duchai. I mean, I probably blotched her name, but she is a labor economist and she's nationally recognized an expert in retirement security. One of the things she said is that the 401k, it's basically a failed experiment. They cost too much because employers can pass along most of the cost to employees, which eat away returns. And that's why 401ks are pushed a lot by in the employers. Employers do get tax write-off for having 401k plans. They get tax write-offs for having an employer contribution as well. So, and then they're not responsible for it. You are the person that's responsible for it, whether it goes up or down, because it's tied to the market. So their hands are totally free if it fails and you have no money in retirement. So they just have legally a responsibility to provide to have a 401k and get a tax write-off. So that's something to consider. One of the things that you can look at in terms of articles is search for Ted Bana. There's multiple articles. There is a video on him. He is the father of the 401k. And more or less, he developed the 401k because pensions were failing in the US. And this was an avenue where employees could contribute to something and create a better retirement. But 401k was only supposed to be able to cover part of their retirement. Social Security, 40%, the 401k a percentage, and other retirement vehicles to cover the entire retirement. But basically, a lot of people currently utilize their 401k as their entire plan for retirement, and their portfolio is not diversified. And as a result, they're just taking the tax deferred money now, not paying taxes on that money contributed in the 401k. And when they retire, they had to pay taxes on it, which they really haven't considered what the cost is. And because they're paying a lot of taxes in their most vulnerable years, they end up, in a higher tax bracket sometimes because they're really funding their 401ks pretty heavy. So Ted Bana says 401ks were never intended to be the primary vehicle savings for retirement. So if this is your primary vehicle for retirement, please take some time to understand what are the pros and cons about it. 401ks have a lot of hidden fees, and I suggest you take some time to look at that. Forbes magazine has a article you could search for it. CNBC has a number of articles, multiple that I found, but it talks about 401ks having fallen short. Time magazine featured this as well, that the time to retire the 401k. Now, if you are interested in really looking at 401k fees, you could review your plans. Sorry, let me just pause here. You could review your plans. Just get a printout of your 401k, and then you would see there's a fees disclosure section, and you're looking for line items like total asset-based fees, total operating expenses, and expense ratios. And make sure to look at your actual rate of return, because the most prominent thing is quoted is your rate of return. But that's not the true rate of return because you have fees. So when you minus the fees, then you know your actual rate of return, which in some instances could be like 3% and stuff. So it is low as well, and you can get higher rate of return. So the advantage of having a 401k is that you have an employer match, but sometimes it does not beat a different type of account. And there are different ones, and we're going to look at one today. AARP states that 1 in 5 Americans over 50 have no retirement savings, and over half already will not have enough to last in their retirement. So, I mean, it's something for you to think about. The average, when you consider people that don't have retirement with the people that have retirement, you end up with a figure of 182,000. This is for people between 60 to 69, all right? And finances, unfortunately, is a reason for some divorce in the US. It accounts for 40%. And as we get older, 60% of Americans get diagnosed with some type of illness. And in US households, 63% are living paycheck to paycheck. And that figure may grow based on just the environment that we're in today. So I just want to show you this interesting figure that I know that the stock market is coming up right now. There's a market correction. This is a article from 2015. But when you search through Fidelity and other there's other companies that have stats on retirement. You see them by age groups. In Fidelity Investment, you see that if people are between the ages of 60, 64, the average is 246. Now, some people have a lot more than that, and some people have a lot less than that. But this is the average of what it works out to is that between 65 to 69 is 251, and 70 and above is 250. So I just want you to do some calculation for yourself. So if someone right now is 65 and they have like 251,000, if they live for 20 years here and they divide 251 by 20, right? Because say they live to the age of 85, which is sort of reasonable. People live to 90, could be longer. They will have 250,000 divided by 20 will give you 12,000 annually. Now, to live on 12,000 annually is, it seems for some people impossible because it's like less than $1,100 per month, and then you have a Social Security. You're kind of, for some people, that's poverty standards because you're not able to purchase food, pay for your medicine, pay for your insurance, pay for your home if you have a mortgage, or you might be renting, pay for utilities, gas, all the different things that you pay for currently. So a lot of people expenditures right now are like 5,000 up. I'm not sure what your household is, what your mortgage and all the expenditures is, but if you're just getting $1,100 a month, and then you're probably going to get 1,700 a month in Social Security, you may have a difficult time surviving on that. So I just want you to be aware of that. And I'm just going to fast forward here to my very next slide here. So one thing to note is retirement is not the end of your life, but it can be the end of your bank account if you don't plan properly. So today we're going to do a little bit of planning and we're going to understand some options because this 2025 401k party, it's going to be messy, right? So life is short. Smile while you have the teeth. We're going to jump right into one of the software that I really want to show you, right? Because I want you to really make some decision to do something, all right? So I'm going to pause here for a second and we're going to go right into the software. Okay, so I'm back. So this particular software is from Annuity Genius. And I just made up a client here just for us to see, and then we're gonna do one straight from scratch. So this is one of the softwares that financial professionals have at their disposal. So different companies have different kinds of software. I was told by some people that this is one of the better softwares, that it pulls up information across whatever state. And there are like 6 major calculators in here so that we could utilize it to help a client to figure out what would be the best option for them. So in case you're not sure, you could always use the navigator, and it uses AI to help you make decisions. So in this situation, we have a travel nurse. She's 40 years old. She has about 100,000 in an old 401k, which is that's about below average, and she wants to move 50,000 into a fixed index annuity. And we're going to look at some of the reasons why this might help, but let's just see what we're just going to use the performance analyzer, one of the calculators to help us out. So when we click on this works out. That's the options within seconds. So within seconds, it gives me 663 account options. This is across. I just put her in Washington State. I could change whatever state she's in. If I want to change to Texas, Utah, it doesn't matter. So it back tested and so it tells me some of the better options here. It says American Equity. This is a A-rated company. It said we cannot leave the money for at least 10 years and use this index at 2-year NASDAQ participation. And this means that the money is going to stay for 2 years. There is an account fee for this 1.5. So if you don't want any account fees, you could use this here to say like you want a company with any account fees. So all of these that are performing well kind of shows us that in the last 10 years, how does perform? On average, it performed 18%. On the high end, it performed in some accounts 23%. On the low end, 13%. Depends on what the indices is. This is for this company, American Equity. It does have American Alliance and a couple others. So let's just do a little bit of exploration for here. And I'll show you a little bit about just some of the factors we could use in terms of surrender rates and bonuses. So if I wanted a company that had offers a bonus, like I said, yes, and it will tell me all the companies in Washington State or whatever state. So let's change the state and change the numbers to see something. So one of the things, a couple of things we want to do. So we want to probably look at the brochure. We kind of want to solve. So we just want to solve to see exactly how much money this travel nurse is going to have when she do retire. We know she's 40, but I wonder how much money she's going to have when she's 65. So the strategy that was shared with it was a 2-year strategy. So we're going to click on that and we click on best, but we're just going to leave it on recent for now. And we're going to put this as she's going to take money out from the age 65. So we could just put a number in here, or we could use a slide bar, 65, and say she's going to probably live to 90. So we use a life expectancy calculator and kind of see when she's going to live or die. So, we're just going to put 90 as like an average or something. We're going to change this to 50,000 here. Again, that's how much she wants to move across. So we have that figure here. We could always slide this bar to see. So we know if she takes 50,000 now and she retires at age 65, it means that from age 65, if this grows at a compound interest of 14%, she will be able to get $173,000 annually. So that means she'll get $14,000 monthly. So remember, with the 401k, if someone had a certain amount, like 200-something thousand, they were only going to get like $12,000. So this is a major difference because of the compound and the index strategy. So this is something that actually performed a whole lot better. It does show you some of the figures here to give like an idea. We could go a little more into the figures when we look at the illustration. So it tells you she has 50,000, so she doesn't have any bonuses. Usually at 50,000, you wouldn't get a bonus. And it shows to you by age how much the account value is and when she's going to take withdrawals. So we know she's going to take withdrawals at age 65. So at age 65 here. So the account value is 1.3 million. So she put in 50,000. And in that period of time, because she didn't touch it, she ended up with 1.3 million. Now, she would have to pay taxes on this. So sometimes you have to employ a different strategy, additional strategy to reduce the taxes of this. And we'll cover that in the very next video, how you reduce your taxes in the FIAs and how you get critical long-term and terminal illness coverage and reduce your taxes. So she's going to be pulling this out 173,000 from age 173 to age 90. And basically it's going to spend out all the money. So you could change that time and it just calculates for you how much money she will have. So say, for example, you meet with a client and said, wow, that figure sounds good. What would happen if I put just all of the 100,000? Like how much would that look? She has 100,000. What would that look like? Let me just type in a figure here. So if she decided that's like, I have 100,000 in an old 401k, I'm not contributed to it, it's at risk, it's not protected. So here we put it in a protected account. So this means the insurance company protected, so it will never fall under 100,000. You could choose whatever index, and the insurance company, they do the investment, but your money is not invested, but they charge you a fee, and they give you either all of the growth or a percentage of the growth, depending on the indices. And it has a list of all the indices here that the company has. But the computer kind of told us which one was the highest, which was this one. And normally, when you meet a client and you actually do the policy, when you go to the company, usually they'll put all the eggs in one basket. You would probably pick a 1 year and a 2 year strategy. So you pick the highest 1 year and the highest 2 year. You could split it 50-50 or 70-30, whatever the client feels, but don't put all the eggs in one basket. So if she does put 100,000 in this particular FIA, she would be able to get $346,000 every year after age 65. And so this is pretty good. The major downfall is that she has to pay taxes on this, which puts her in a high tax bracket. So she has to implement an additional strategy to reduce the tax income. So you see some of the figures here. Now, if we want to look at a more detailed view of the figures, if you just go back here, and we'll just look at a couple of things here. So if we go to the illustrate, it'll give us a fair illustration of what the company would do. So if I go to, as a financial professional and you become appointed with different companies, you're able to go into each company's software and run this illustration, which saves time for the client. If the client were to call the company, usually they'll get an automated service. They would have to wait and then go through a process and have an agent assigned to them, wait a couple days, whatever. But if you meet a financial professional, they can run the figures and submit it in a short space of time. And plus, you have someone there that could make the process a whole lot smoother for you and faster. So one of the figures we like to look at is the hypothetical values. This means it's the projected growth. So in this, it kind of gives you back tested like how much it actually performed in the last 10 years. So put the figures in here like this is like 2 years ago, 4 years ago, like it just put the figures like to give you approximate of how much it could grow based on past performance. So we see she got 50,000. Oh, you know what? It did not change. Let's go back to the performance analyzer and change this here to 100,000. We just want to see what the 100,000 in the illustration would look like. So let's see what this looks like here. The guaranteed values are if the stock market does not grow at all every single year, which is impossible. It gives you kind of what it would look like. So what we want to look like, the stock market goes up and down. If the stock market ever falls, she will just get zero growth. Once it grows, it will get a growth. So if it grows up to 70% or whatever this particular stock is, so apparently this particular stock, every 2 years, you've got some, pretty high growth. So the figures that we're looking at here, it still did not change. All right, let me try this one more time. Close this. For whatever reason, it is not changing, so I will make a new client. I'll just use the same travel nurse. And then let's just pick a different state. Let's just pick Arizona. Let's make this travel nurse a male. And we have the options of using any kind of money from TIS, Roth, wherever. So If it's non-qualified, you're talking about someone's savings, or if they have stocks, you use that. We're gonna do a situation like with somebody with stocks, just for you to see what a figure will look like. So we're gonna put this guy, travel nurse, 38. Well, let's put 42, a little older. So Arizona, let's go back to performance analyzer. Let's see what we get for Arizona. American Equity, which is not bad. Alliance. So we'd always look at the Alliance as well too. Let's take a look at this one. That's a different company. And for this one, we're just gonna look at the brochure so you can see like what the brochure looks like. So especially when you're presenting any information to clients, you want to see what the brochure from the company would look like. You could go to the company, they have lots of marketing material that you could download and give to the client once you're appointed with the company. So in Illustrate, you want to see what the figures would look like hypothetically. So for this, see 114,000 at age 65, let's scrolling here. They will have 2 million. So this definitely performs better. So if we go back to the performance analyzer and now we decide to solve, we should get a little better figure here. I can't remember what the indices was, but let's just look, see which one is the highest performing one here. 16% by Morgan Stanley. Okay. So this guy's gonna take money out from age 65, and then we're gonna take, no, let's keep it at 90. Let's put this at, he's gonna live longer, 93. So he's gonna end up at a pretty good retirement, around $561,000 he's gonna get back each year. This is an index strategy with compound interest. So it's pretty good. Not too bad figure at 65. So we see 65, 3 million. And then from here, he's going to draw 561,000 each year, which is a pretty good salary. It's just he has to do something else to drop the taxes because he's going to be paying a lot of taxes on that, which we definitely don't want to do. Now, sometimes a client may, if they have more money or something, or they're older, and they don't have the time for it to grow because in this policy, this person is younger. So there's a lot of time for it to grow index. But if they're older, then, or if they want to use the money for something else, what you could choose is have a bonus. So we want to see companies with bonus. If you're 100,000, usually over 100,000, you start getting bonuses, 250 have bonuses. So Alliance, this particular policy has a premium of 14% premium bonus. This company does have a 14%. So around 100,000, you can get 14%. The higher money you put, the more your bonus would be. I think it go as max at 30%, depending. So in this particular one, you see the Alliance, which is an A plus company. And in our next video, I'll show you a little bit about how they rated. So they rated A plus to F. So all of these companies are A plus. NASA is a B, B plus, B plus plus actually. So on this page, there are 292 options here. And this is in Arizona. So Arizona has less options than the travelers that we did in Washington State. But it performs pretty similar. And they're pretty similar companies. Although there are a range of companies that we could look at, we get to see just the performance of this. So we're going to go to the dashboard and we're going to make a new client and to see, if someone has stocks. So we're going to do a gentleman, Mr. Stocks. So say this guy, he's an accountant or something. I'm just going to put him in California. And he's a male. We're going to put non-qualified money here. And I can't remember, did we have the non-qualified for each travel nurse or qualified? It doesn't matter at this point. We are going to put non-qualified and then create a client here. Age here. Let's just put him at 45. So we're just going to use the performance analyzer. We could use these others on a different day. but just for simplicity, we're going to use the performance analyzer. So if he has stocks and he puts in 100,000, for example, he could get like 18%. And it's pretty similar. If we had changed this figure to 150, let's see if it would actually change this time. Did not change much, but let's see if the illustrate solves. Nope, it didn't still change. I had to go back from scratch to change that. It has to be some way to change this here for some reason. It's not changing. Well, we'll just keep it at 100,000 and see. But let's just pick a different company. Let's just look at a B plus company in case someone wants some variation to see what this company is. This is NASA, which is actually a really, really good company. And this is a single premium accumulation focused fixed annuities. This means you just put one down payment. So there are some annuities where you could just use it like a 401k. You pay every month in tape, which is a flexible premium annuity. And you do get great returns in this. This particular annuity is one you just put money, dump, just leave it. And it does give you the option to pull 10%. So with this particular client, because he is into stocks are not doing well, he's actually putting in 100,000. He has the option to take out 10% each year to fund his stocks. Like say, you know what, I just want to take some money and put it back in stocks. He can do that. So we could see what the numbers look like for him. Let's go back to the Nassau. Which one the Nassau here? Illustration. Illustrate. And so at least we will have a better idea of how much money you could take. And when you go into the company website, you would be able to add in all the fees, which it doesn't have all the fees one. And you'll be able to see to just like if you do withdrawals for 10% for each year. This third-party software doesn't give me all of those things. It does give me generally all the figures and pulls up comparison against multiple companies. So there are some limitations with it, but it's actually excellent software. So we see that with the 100,000 at age 65, he's probably going to have 681,000, which is not too bad. He does have a death benefit in this one. I mean, they all do, but I think he had a higher death benefit. That's over $1 million death benefit. And what we can do is try to solve to see how much money he could get with when he does retire. Nassau. And let's just solve this. What it would look like for him. Okay, 2 year, good. If he's gonna take money out from age 65, say he's gonna live to 90. Let's put 89. 159,000, which is not too bad. He's a little older, so there's less time for it to grow. So then you know what? Let's just look at something else. So because he's not that old, but he's 45. So you know what? I want a bonus. So let's see bonus. Let's see what companies offer bonus. And yes, there are a couple of them. Alliance again does have a premium bonus. So remember, when you have a bonus, you would get less growth, but you do get a bonus. Which sometimes could end up more and sometimes it doesn't. But it's always good to just run the numbers and see what they actually look like. So I'm going to stop sharing here. We're going to go back into the slide as we close this video off. And so at least you have a lot to think about before you start, really looking at different kinds of strategies as well as reducing your taxes. All right, so back again with this slide here, and I'm just gonna I'm just kind of backtrack a tiny bit. So you had a lot of things that you learned. So I want you to think about what is your biggest takeaway so far, right? If you don't do anything, you know that your 401k is going to lose. You know that there are solutions available. And one of the solution is a fixed index annuity. There are multiple solutions, but some of the reasons why I like this as a primary one or as the first one is that your 401k is not protected. It's tied to the stock market. If the stock market falls, it falls. If it rises, it rises. And in the first video that I did, I showed you why a FIA outperforms because if the stock market falls, the FIA has a zero floor. It means that it will never go below that zero. But if the stock market rises, you get the rise. And when it falls, it stays right there. So that index strategy is very, very powerful. And you get the same tactic for growth as with a 401k, but you get a 10% free withdrawal, which you don't get with a 401k. You have penalties in the 401k if you withdraw the money if you're younger than 59 and a half. So with the 401k, the index strategy ones, so not all annuities have the fixed index. Looking at the fixed index ones, you're capturing the upside potential in market and none of the downside. So when it downside, the insurance company is protecting, like, you know what? As the stock goes down, like it stays right there. You don't get zero growth. So you do get like a personal pension plan. You can have different riders. One of them is have a guaranteed lifetime income. So you say you want, you did a life expectancy and you see you're gonna live like 98, 95, then you could choose a lifetime income and it will pay you a set amount no matter how long you live, if you live past 100. So remember what we did is we kind of calculate from when the person might pass like 90, 89, 85. So if your genetics and you've been taking good care of health and you think you're going to live pretty long, then activate the rider. So there's a small fee and then you would pay this, but you will get your FIU will pay you no matter how long you live. And just remember that all of these companies are billion-dollar companies. I'll just show you a couple of them, some of these stats on some of these videos. There are no management fees, but there are fees. And the fees are different from the 401k. So both the 401k has fees and the FIA does have fees. I personally prefer the fixed index annuity because your rate of growth far outseeds this, and it fees are minimal compared to the 401ks. In some strategies, you will have if you just do just a rollover from a 401k to a fixed index annuity, you don't get taxes at all at that point. It goes into what's called a 1035 exchange because the 401k and the fixed index annuities is part of the bracket of being in the same category. So it's just a transfer of money. If you take the money out and you put it in like a IUL or some other products, then you would get taxed and then you would have a penalty for early withdrawal. So there's no penalties for you if you take some money out of your 401k. Just need to know that you do need some sort of professional help. You definitely need professional help to do that. If you call the company 401k, they don't like you to move your money, and their salespeople, a lot of them they're just the salespeople on the phone. Their profession is just to talk you out of it. They may not have all the facts they will not have the facts on the FIA or how it compares, but they will talk you out of it and give you stuff without backing it up sometimes. So you can, in some instances, move your money from a 401k to this, but there are instances where some companies don't allow it. So you need to find out whether it's in service or not. That's one of the terms. There are a couple of terms that you need to know. But speak to a financial professional so that you understand some of the lingo and some of the things that you need to do beforehand, before you move your money beforehand into a FIA. You need to find out which is a good one and then how to switch it across. And then you need to do a suitability study as well with the company because not all insurance company, well, that's going to take the money there. They find out like if you're an appropriate client or is this the best thing for you? So those are some of the other things. I will get into that in the next video. So some of the key takeaway is that with an FIA, you're putting a grip on the investment. Right now, if you're in a 401k or if you have stocks or a Roth, it's unprotected. So it goes up. If stock goes up by 50%, if you have 100,000, and it goes up by 50%, you will have 150,000. But if it falls by 50%, you end up at 75,000. If you have a FIA, it goes up by 50%, you have 150,000. If it falls by 50%, it stays at 150,000. And if the market comes back up, you gain, and then the 401k is behind because this will get the growth. So here you have a growth, it's locked in here. Here you have a growth, you got the growth, or part of the growth is locked in here. Whenever this falls, you don't get the fall, you only get the growth. And whenever it falls, you don't get the falls. So there are guarantees, there's a rate of return, there's index growth, pension-like income, and potential bonuses. So you will only get bonuses generally with higher single premiums. So if you have like 10,000 to move, or a lot of times you will not get bonuses for that. So, but if you have higher amounts, you do get bonuses and more. But if you're younger, you could just take, you don't need a FIA. You could do a flexible premium one and just keep giving money every month like a 401k. So I'm a travel nurse. So travel nurses can use flexible premiums, annuities, and they grow over time and they run very, very well as well. But this video does not cover that. So a rollover is generally, if you have an old 401k, one that you don't get an employee match. If you're still getting an employee match, then generally it's advised that you stay there unless you realize it's not sufficient and the FIA outperformed it, then stop it and just do the FIA alone. So also, if you have took out annuity about 10 years ago, then you could safely move that across. The company allows, once it's over 10 years, you can move it into a higher performing one. And as you saw in the software, it pulls up all of the companies and the rate of return. So you can make a decision like, man, I'm going to get the best rate of return here. And technology is improving. There's AI. There's so many different things that you would have investment firms that no, there's everyday folks get to utilize them with training. So, so you could think about that and just remember one of the major takeaway that I want you to have is that your average was the actual return. And I spoke a little bit about this. If you have 100,000, it's in a variable account, whether it's stocks or 401k. If it drops by 50%, 100,000 drops by 50%, you end up with 50,000. If you're an index account and you start up at 100,000 and it dropped by 50%, it's zero, it's protected. Now, if it goes up by 50%, right, you get 75. But in this strategy, it is index 10% cap. You don't get the all 50%. So you could pay the fee and get all 50%, but if it's like no fees, you get only 10%, then the person gets 110%. And these are really great performing accounts where you don't have any fees. So you could look at that, you make your choice. And then, so anyway, so with the variable account, 100,000, lost 50%, came down to 50,000. It went up by 50%, half of 50% is 25, so you end up with 50 plus 25 is 75. If it dropped by 50%, half of 75 is 37,000. If it goes up by 50%, half of 37, I can't remember what that is, but when you add that up, you end up with 56,000. So if you had 100,000 and the market go up and down, the actual rate of return is 43,000. And generally, people's 401k are losing. The only reason they don't notice it is because they're contributing to it every month. Where they're losing in fees and other things. And I am going to do a video on fees so you actually see. I'm going to pull a actual 401k and you get to see what the fees are. So in the index strategy, if you have 100,000, it dropped by 50,000, you didn't lose anything. If it goes up by 50% with a 10% cap, you have 110. If it drops by 50%, you're still at 110. If it goes up by 50%, you end up with 121,000, 10% gain. So you overall gain 21,000. Average rate of return 5%. This is with a 10% cap index. And you can see some index perform a lot better than that in some of the FIAs, but this is like a general one. So if someone had the 401k, they end up with far less money than someone that in a FIA. And the HR is not going to tell you that. A lot of times they're not financial professional and they will not answer those questions. When you call whatever 401k companies, they will direct you online. And some not even give it a runaround, but they will not answer any questions related to 401k compared to FIA. They will never do that because it'll be to their disadvantage. Right? So let's be honest, none of us wants to lose money, right? So, and I want you to get started and buckle up and look at how you could use Annuity Genius. So you can meet with myself or anybody in terms of seeing how you could roll over 401k, right? I just want to cover briefly what a 401k with the annuity is. In case you didn't know what an annuity is, it's a financial contract between you and the insurance company. The contract functions like an investment account and can offer the annuity a guaranteed income stream. You could have it right away if you're older, or if you have it deferred, you will make a lot more money if you deferred it 5-10 years, right? Sometimes 7 to 10 years is kind of the sweet spot. And it could pay out over time, or it could pay when you die. And that's the fun your annuity, your fixed index annuity, you have there's two options here. The two options being qualified and non-qualified. Just to clarify this, the qualified is money that has not been taxed. So then you get a different rate of return is 401k, 403, TIS, IRA, SEPA, several different types. Non-qualified is cash. So with these, you didn't pay tax. You have to pay tax on all the contributions. With non-qualified, you only pay taxes on the growth because the money has already been taxed. So say you got your salary, it went into your bank account, and then you decide to use that to fund a FIA. That's like cash. You will not pay taxes on that deposit. You will only pay taxes on the growth of that money, right? So just so you understand that as we move forward. All right, I'm just gonna skip some of this because we already know things are pretty rough out there. So if this video has been just beneficial for you, just remember to please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it if you take 1 second to press that like button. It actually costs you nothing. And please share with somebody that needs this. All right, there are lots of people that need this information. So be kind and share this information with your family and friends. And my deeper desire for you is to have a happy retirement. So I want to wish you all the best. And thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in part 3 of this video as we explore some more strategies. Going to have a great day. Bye-bye.